Others up there doing well. He decided, yeah, she had a lot of, right. She did. He, I guess, brought him here to the show and so forth. I remember that. Right, I remember. Yeah. Okay, we're going to announce it momentarily. Okay. Okay. Oh, you'll see. Okay. We're going to start with the learning sponsors. Okay. Year of Learning, Bella and David Adler, in memory of her mother, Eliyahu ben Yosef Cohen. Those who were inspired by Rebbetzin Emerita Sheila Shapiro, Sarah Esther Malka, but Meshulam Yisachar. Gail and Leslie Kaplan, in memory of their parents, Mushka Sprinzer bat Yosef Chaim Bathava, Hanan ben Moshe Eliezer Vathana, Pesha bat Shmuel Yitzchak Halevi Vitzipora, Isra ben Yoel Moshe Cohen Vathana. Rexford Friends of Gladys Sherman, Gutta bat Meir, Michael Klein and Friends of Judah Klein, in memory of Yudah Tzvi ben Chaim. Marsha Brana, in memory of her husband, Rav Yerachmiel ben Shmuel. Friends and family of Arthur Ritholtz, Mordechai Yudel ben Baruch Leib HaKohen. Friends and family of Siggy Bessler, Shalom Shraga ben Dov. Friends of Marvin Weinstein, Mordechai Ozer ben Yisrael Aharon. Sarah Alpert, in memory of her husband, Rav Tzvi Lipa ben Hillel. Rexford Friends of Maddie Friedman, Mendel Miriam Bat Kalman Ruvain. A Month of Learning by Susan and Ruvain Podolsky, in memory of her father, Simcha Bunam ben Yeshua, to which we want to thank. A special thanks to Susan Podolsky for sponsoring a very nice tikkun for the DAF participants, in that today is the actual day of the Yortzeit. Okay. All right, that's in memory of Simcha Bunam ben Yeshua. Okay. It's Week of Learning by Lala Bessler, in memory of her mother-in-law, Rachel Bat Shalom, Rabbi Tzvi and Rabin Karpel, in memory of his mother, Malka Bat Mordechai, and her mother, Chaya Abel Bat Menachem Zev. Today we have a day of learning by Bill Ireland, in memory of his mother-in-law, Rachel Bat Avraham. We had also past days of learning that did not get listed previously. On April 28th, Roy and Marilyn Barth, in memory of his father, Zalman Yaakov ben Dov Aryeh, by Marcia Fetterbush on the 29th, in memory of her brother, Ari ben Menachem Mendel. May the Shemas have an Aliyah, Crank Rafia, Velti Yeshua Shema Tliya, L'chol B'nai Yisrael Ben Shtiar. And tomorrow on the 4th, I don't know if no, I'll do it tomorrow, right? Okay, we'll do that tomorrow. Okay. All right. Okay, now, I know, but I'll tell you as soon as I open the Gemara.
Okay, it's a deal.
Right? Fair enough? We finished the story of Rabba and his father, with the message that sometimes one has to listen to their son or son-in-law, okay, for advice. Right? Okay, and so we are on 7 lines. Last word, Samach Hey. Amud Aleph, I assume it's 65A, still 1 in our scroll. Last word on the line, we're going to start the moment with Amar Abide.
Okay, today's a mop-up day, both in the Mishnayos and in the Gemara. What is that? We're going to have a lot of issues with things that look like ribbis, and also we're going to solve some of the machlokas and come to a conclusion And at least three of the machlokas that we've been having the last few days. Amar Abaya. Abaya says, "Hi, man, the masik user the visa the fabric. A guy was trying to collect money that interest money that he had charged his friend. Because he had one zuz. You had to pay him $1, and the price wheat was going for four sa for one zuz. So you had to give him one zuz or four sa. You able to eat a chamshik. We gave him, so he paid him 5. Now he knows the whole one zuz was ribis. Instead of giving him four cob of wheat or one zuz of ribis, he gave him 5. So keep up in there. You're going to see afterwards. We see, and that's what even though it sounds like we basket that way, that we do force a person to give back ribis that they took. We're going to take the ribis back from him. We only take the 4 back, but we don't take the 5th one back. Why not? Either. What about the 5th one? Okay, why? Right, really, because you really paid him 4. Zulu the Komosa but either that last 5th one, Zulu the Komosa he gave him a baker's dozen. That's all. That wasn't interest payment. You understand? The interest payment was the 4 worth the Zulu. The other one he gave a baker's dozen, and you let him keep it. Rabbi Mai says no. No, you have to take back. If we're going to ask him that we recover all of the ribis money, or take it back. Mitar b'Torah ribisa after the other day. Says here what he says. Why is that? Because since the facts are that even the 5th one was under the auspices of collecting ribis, since he took it as ribis, you have to give it back as part of the ribis. You don't consider the price. And that's very interesting. I told you I communicate a lot with people who write books. So there was a person who wrote a book on rivers. A number of years ago, I had to kill myself. The guy didn't want to talk to me, which is not common. I don't usually have that problem. But this guy was, whatever it was, he was nervous. He didn't want to talk to anybody. And I pressed him hard at a certain point. He didn't really answer. But I pressed him about tshuva for ribis. He said, it's okay, like in the end, for ribis, you have to do one. Let's say you paid ribis. Let's say you paid ribis to somebody. He says, you're not allowed to pay him. You pay it, how do you do tshuva? That's okay. Yes, you have to do tshuva like any other law. But sometimes when you get people are used to everybody criticizing them all the time. A number of years ago, I called a guy who wrote a book just to thank him for doing such a good job, because for myself, I understood. I clarified so many points in his book that he didn't understand. So for the first 5 minutes, the author of the book was utterly confused. 5 minutes. The true story. He's going, what's the problem? What's your problem? What's the problem? And finally, after 5 minutes, I kind of convinced the guy there's no problem. I'm trying to tell you, thank you very much for the book. I said, I really learned a lot. You straightened out a lot of problems. And I really gained from your book. When the guy finally realized that he didn't call to beat him up. He spent 5 minutes thanking me. He said, Yasha, Kayak, Yasha. He couldn't believe his ears. He couldn't believe it. Somebody called him to thank him for the book. He never heard such a thing. Yeah, it's terrible. So I talked about this a few weeks ago. It's a terrible world we are standing. If Judaism is a beat-up thing, it's disgusting. What does that do with Torah? All gaiva and conceit, etc. Those people that have no place in Torah. There's no such place. It's a terrible thing. You don't want it. When I listen to this is really true. When I was quite young, the first time I learned Hilchos Kedusha. So I lived in Eretz Yisrael, so I learned the laws. Of Kedusha, how you marry somebody, what you do. I happened to come to America. It was the first time I visited America since I left when I was a kid. And I happened to go to a wedding. So I go to a wedding. I just learned the laws of Kedushin. So I'm very excited to see how the rabbi does it, etc. So I listened to every word, and I see you did this way, not that way. So I ran up after the wedding. I ran up to the rabbi. I said, I see that you did this way and that way. I was just excited. It was like going to the baseball game. You know how they actually do it. The guy was very different. He says, listen. I just do whatever it says in the siddur. That's what I do. The poor guy was traumatized. He was traumatized. Every guy works for the seaboard is traumatized by bullies. It's terrible. It's terrible. I was so sad. I was calling him. I was like a puppy dog. I was so excited to see how you do a wedding. I was like, because I just learned the Shulchan. And listen, whatever it says in the siddur, that's what I do. The guy was so defensive. It was sad. I felt bad for the guy. Anyway, okay. Amar Abaya, Haiman domestic abazuzu the visa of the a guy was trying to collect 4 zuz of ribis. Again, that he wasn't supposed to. Maybe they'll give him a governor. So the guy paid him, instead of paying him the 4 zuz, he paid him a coat. New worth 4 zuz. Came up. Give him that, and then we take it back. But the truth is what? Okay. our bomb of you have to take back the money, okay, but you don't take back the object. Even though the object's there, you get the money, you don't pay back the object. Well, no, you have to actually give them back the actual code. My time, what's the reason? The low limri, lima the mechasi b'koy. People should walk and say, you see that coat? The guy's walking around wearing the coat. That was the ribis one. It's like we don't want to put. It's hard. The person's walking around displaying the avera that he did. He's walking around displaying an avera that he collected. We don't want it. So even though he paid it back, but it still doesn't look right. He sees that's the coat that was taken for ribis. Amar Rabba, Haiman the Mesa traces who's releasing the chafetz. A guy was trying to collect. He was collecting 12 zuz of ribis from somebody. Okay, the metagra basar. So the guy, instead of paying the 12, what he do is look. He rented him a courtyard that usually rents for 12. Okay, part that usually rents for 10. And he rented it to him for 12. Since he made it higher. He so now we're gonna have to take it back. So he got a courtyard worth 10 only, but he took it as 12. When you take it back, okay, he's gonna take back the money. Tracer King, he has to pay back 12. Okay, why is that? Even though what he only got, one thing, all he got was really a 10. But once he agreed to his law, he has to pay back the 12. Why should he pay back 12? He should say to him, he says, when I rented it when I took it for 12, that become a charge for me. I rented it for 12 because I was going to make money. Okay, why? Because I wasn't paying for it. So I was willing to take it at 12. But now that it's not profitable for me, you want me to pay back 12? I took it at 12 because I was making money. I'm not going to pay back 12 and not make money for a 10. So once you're making me pay it back, so I'm saying that I took the courtyard for the proper price of 10. You can't do it. Why? We don't accept it. Because we say to him, Savarti b'kibalta. New. It's only worth 10. You took it at 12. You took it at 12. You got a 12, and you can't say you only got a 10. You have to give back to 12. Now, we're going to have two references. We're going to make a differentiation between ribis by a sale and ribis by a rental. Okay? Now, in general, we talked about that if you get a better price up front, you have a problem. At least with the rabbanon, you have a problem of ribis. If you get a sale, this was in Israel. I don't know about here. In Israel, it was everywhere. Everywhere was like that. For the years, especially because the economy was so crazy. So everybody had two prices. Everything you bought in the world had two prices. One price for now, one price for the payment. It was always like that. You make payments because the thing, everything was skyrocketing all the time. So here, we have a problem. So even though buying ribis through buying is rabbinic, but here you end up you pay if you get a cheaper price in the beginning and a more expensive price for later. So essentially, at least rabbinically, it looks like what you're paying. You're paying a higher price for the guy letting you keep the money longer. It says, well, it looks like it. At least it looks like it. So now we're going to make a differentiation between buying with a cheaper price or renting. Right. So that's the point. So at least rabbinically, because here you're right by mecha, but at least rabbinically, because what's happening is, in order for him to not to have to give up the money, let's say the front price is 100 and the other price is 150. So in order for him to keep the 150, in order for him to keep the money longer, he's paying 50. That's what we're looking at. That's at least rabbinically. It looks like he's taking a loan and paying interest for holding the money longer. He pays more money. That's what. But you're right. That's the problem. That is exactly the problem. But here we're going to say the difference between buying and renting. So I would say by being Marvin al-Sar, you're allowed to pay more money for rental. Okay, but as we say, okay, but that's okay. No, if you pay more by waiting for rental, it's okay. And you can't pay more for waiting when you buy. Okay, so let's take a look what it is. He's careless. Let's say the guy rented his courtyard to somebody. If you pay the money now, okay, here, pay up front, it's $10 a year. $10 a year for the whole 12 months. Okay, if you want to pay by the month, you have to pay one salah every month. You're gonna pay 12, you pay $10 a month. We said that's okay, and that's okay. Ironically, even though what it looks like, it looks like for holding the money, he's paying more, but it's okay. Machalas or something. So the guy sold his field. That's a sale. Rambali said the email short that I said, he said, if you pay me now up front for the field, Irish Chabal dues, you get it for 1,000. In Lagard, if you're only going to pay me later at the time of the threshing, okay, we have money, we're stealing some money. You have to pay me what? You have to pay me 1,200. Also, that's forbidden. So we said what? So what? Paying more for waiting is okay by a rental, and it's not okay by a sale. We're going to explain in 1 minute. Let's take a look. Vaishnav ratio. How come? What's the difference is the Gemara between the first case by rental was okay to pay more for later? Vaishnav Sefer, what's wrong with what's the difference in the second case where for a sale you can't? Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi. So both Rabbi Yosef agreed to the same point. Here it said myself. Now this is a crazy point here, but be careful. This is talking about not serious is a funny word. It's a famous machlokas. Whether serious when you hire a guy, so is when do you owe him the money? Say we might be passing you owe the guy every second he works. He works a minute, you owe him a minute. You work 2 minutes, you owe him 2 minutes. You understand? But we're not about renting a guy. We're talking about renting a field, and so everything is serious. When you rent property, you only owe it after you get the benefit. Do you live a month? You owe a month. You live, you have to. It's only at the end. It's not. It's only at the end of the deal, and not every minute. So he said what? So since everybody holds what's serious, since the rental, you only owe the money at the end. The high, so therefore it's going to. So if he takes it, he only owes the money at the end. The high came to the month is in the enigma. So since what the whole time that he's waiting, he wasn't time to pay. Okay, because it's before. Okay, he's not paying him more for holding on to the money because he didn't owe him the money. It's not like he owes him the money now and he makes the deal and he's paying more by waiting. He doesn't owe him any money until he lives in the place. He doesn't owe him anything. Okay, he's paying exactly now what the price is. Since he only owes it to him after he lived in the place, so he's paying the price for living in the place. It's not a problem. So he never paid him more for waiting. That's why. Okay, he says, but what? He says what? And that's what the renter says to the rentee. He says, if you give me the money now, it's 10 for the year. So why? How do you give him that? Why is it cheaper? Because he's giving him a deal if he pays early. But it's not a problem because it's always. If I'm not clear, because it's in the hand of the owner until the end of the rental. It's not like it was in the hands of the guy. He owed him the money, and then he paid him more for not having to pay immediately. He didn't owe him the money. It was always in the hands of the renter. So the second he paid the high price he paid was one of his first obligations. He didn't pay more for waiting. He paid him more because that's when he owes it. He paid it now. Okay. I say from that's true what by the rental case, but by the rental he doesn't owe any money till the end. Therefore, but in the case of the sale, came to Zinin in since it's a sale, boy, the Mishkan and what? And he really owes him for the first minute. Since he's taking the property, he has to pay him now. And since he didn't pay him, it's what? So he owes him the money. Since he's going to pay him more for later, he's paying more for not paying the money now. So that's rivers. And forget about whether it's rice or butter. The point is, but he's definitely, we have the on the surface, he's paying more money for not having to pay immediately. That's called that. So you're paying a price for waiting. That's the definition of ribis. What's that?
You have the concept of finding out your money before it covers.
Yes.
Does it apply in the
It does apply. That's the whole. But that is the whole premise of ribis. You see that ribis is a prohibition. It's not a monetary, but that's the whole point of ribis. Ribis, from a monetary point of view, every commercial society lives on loans and interest. That's the only way to have a good economy. You have to have it, and that's why so the Hashem said, "Don't do it." Hashem said, "Don't do it," even though everybody's happy. The lender wants to do it, and the buyer wants to do it. A guy's got a business. He's thrilled to pay a few dollars for money. Listen to this story. It's a true story, and I love it because the punchline is counterintuitive. It's a true story. My Rebbe, his brother. So he was a young man. He was walking down the street with a very wealthy man. It's going to be the opposite punchline that you're expecting. He's walking down. He's a young guy walking down the street with a very wealthy man. As they're walking, the wealthy man sees a nickel on the ground, 5 cents. He bends down and he picks up the nickel. It's not going to be what you think. So the young guy looks, he says, "Mister, wealthy man," he says, "I'm so surprised the person with so much money as you bend down in the street to pick up a nickel." He says, he says, "For you," he says, "that's a nickel." He says, "For me, that's the use of $1 for a whole year." He says, hey, you expect this? What do you mean? I nickel? You're an idiot. That's not 5 cents. That's a buck. You know what you're doing? That's I can get a whole dollar for that nickel. It's a very it's counterintuitive. So the point is, every society wants it. You understand? But Hashem said no. And I'll tell you, I can't say this is the reason. But a student of mine, when I was very young, one of my earliest students really explained it. And I'll tell you what it is. Interest is a fantastic way to make money. If you posit an honest borrower, but he's an honest person, theoretically, it's a way to make money with no risk. Here, you give the guy money. If he makes money, you get your money back. If he doesn't make money, assuming he's an honest guy, you don't care. If you invest money in your business, maybe you'll succeed, maybe you won't succeed. You know, why should I do it? Let me give it to an honest Joe. Let him take the risk, and I get my money anyway. What a great way to make money. It's fantastic. So but I'll tell you what happens. So let's say in a society where ribis is mutter, if I have more money than I can work, I don't have enough time to work all the money I have. So what do? I give it to somebody else. So I make money. It's a fantastic thing. I couldn't care less. But look what happens. What happens in a Torah society? If I have more money than I can work, I can't lend it out at interest. So what am I going to do? The only thing I can do is I'm going to have to invest it in somebody else's business. If I invest it in somebody else's business, guess what? All of a sudden, I'm very interested. Since I made an investment and I have a risk, all of a sudden, I'm very interested in the welfare of my friend's business. I'm calling them up. I say, listen, I'm sending you customers. Watch out for this and that. All of a sudden, I'm very interested in the welfare of my buddy's business. So in a Jewish society, when you want to make more money than you can work, what are you going to do? You have to invest it in your buddy's business. And all of a sudden, you're his best friend. You're calling him every minute. You understand? You're staying up at night just like he's staying up at night to worry about his business. Isn't it beautiful? You understand? So you have a society, you understand, where people to make money have to worry about somebody else's business. I heard a guy explaining a beautiful difference between, ironically, it's hysterical. I don't know if you ever lived in a socialist place. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I had my last congregation. I had tons of guys living in a communist world. So you have to understand what takes place. When you live in a socialistic place, everybody's on the take. Everybody's on the take all the time. You get up every day figuring out how you can cop something for yourself in a socialistic place. That's the only way to get anything. Because they tell me, used to be in Russia, if they gave a guy a job to run a factory, and then they said, and such you get salary, he says, what, you also get a salary? He's like, if you work, that's great, I can just steal. Yeah, I get a salary. You're going to believe it. So you wake up in a communist and socialist society all day long, you think it was what? How to take care of yourself. In a capitalistic society, since you want people to buy your product, you spend all day figuring out how to please other people. Ironically, to make your money, you have to find a way to make other people happy. It's ironic. In a capitalistic society, you spend every day trying to figure out how to make other people happy. And the socialist society, make yourself. That's my point. But here in the Jewish world, what a beautiful world we live in the Jewish world. In Jewish society, you don't have enough muscle to work all your money. You're gonna have to help somebody else. Then you have to take an interest in somebody else. Isn't that beautiful? My first time he explained it. That's a beautiful point. Okay, so the thing is here. So that's what you're asking. That's the point. That's the whole chiddush of ribis, and that's why it's a Yoredea problem. You understand? But monetarily, the laws make no sense. Every society, the oxygen of every commercial society is loans. You have the money supply. You can't run a commercial society without money lending. So all of a sudden, a society with no interest, it's incredible. You say, Hashem, and the answer is what? It's for your brother. Hashem doesn't want Jews to relate to each other this way. When I lend money to somebody, I don't give a darn. This is great. Instead of me worrying about my business, let this guy, huh? So that's my point. So the answer is Hashem says, even commercially, that's the chiddush of the Torah. Hashem says, listen, I will not let you have that relationship with another Jew. That's what Hashem said. You can't do it. Now, the only thing is we see that we have a way. So you see that Chachamim helped us when we made a Heter Iska. I don't think we discussed Heter Iska yet. The Heter Iska is a way that a person wise up. Because here's what happened. Let's say my buddy says, listen, I'm thrilled to pay $100 for the loan. He says, I'll save my business. I want to save my friend's business. And I said, listen, but the $100 that he wants to borrow from me, that's how I support my family. That $100 is what I use to buy and sell. That's how I feed my family. I'd be thrilled to give it to my kid, but I need to make $20 on the 100. That's how I feed my wife and children. He says, listen, I'll give you the 20. Your friend's begging you. He says, I'll give you the 20, please. Give me the 100 and my business is going to go under. Give me the 100. I'll be thrilled to pay you 20. I'll pay you 40. Don't let my business fail. You see, so who has bad intentions? So then Chacham said, okay, I'll forget it. Chacham said, you want to help your friend? That's why you want it? You want to help your friend? I'll figure out a way to, I'll figure out a way. We have to you see, we have to discuss. And that's why my teacher, Zambra Chemia, you can't make at this with outrageous terms. Like, you're not allowed. You say, no, you're saying no. When the terms are not, it's not commensurate. You understand with the. We'll have to discuss how after this can work. After this, you're really in the business, and there's a buyout fee. That's real. But all of a sudden, I get that. All you're doing is what's the word? You're killing the guy. Yeah, you're just killing the guy. So you gotta have this. You know what you want to do. But that's not the point. So I'm saying your point to what you're saying. So that's why. So the rabbis said yes. There's a place where you're right. It's the other way. The guy's begging you. And a good society, we want to lend money. I don't want your money. Like, yeah, I need the cash that you want from me. I need to support my family. That $100 is my capital that I use to support my family. So then the Chazal said, okay. Then the rabbis taught us, I'll find you a way to give it. We'll let him get you the 20. We'll have a way for him to get you the 20. I said, but in essence, what you're asking, the point, Hashem does that. This is for your brethren. You're not allowed to treat your brother this way. We don't want to have that cold. I'm positing. You say, yeah, Hashem doesn't want you to have that relationship with another Jew. People don't know who Jewish people are. That's the problem. You don't know what a Jew is. If people know what Jews were, we'd be fainting all the time. Every day you come to shul, you faint. You faint because you're in the presence of a Jew. I'm not kidding. People don't know what Jews are. People think those are the Jews don't know who Jews are. I'm trying to tell you. They make a joke. I love everybody. So they make, but Hasidim are obsessed with the Rebbe. One of the jokes is that one day somebody put a chumash, somebody put a different sefer on top of the sefer of the Rebbe. They put a book on top of the Rebbe's book. So the guy runs up. He says, "What are you doing? What do you think this is, a chumash?" He said, "We think that's a chumash. That's the Rebbe's book." And that's a joke. But it was. You know what a Jew is? What do you think? That's a person? That's not a person. That's a Jew. That's that thing. That's solid gold. That's a Jew over there. Stop that. You say they have to know what a Jew is. You say, and Hashem doesn't want you. Hashem will not let you relate to a Jew that way. I'm sorry. That cold relationship you can't have with a Jew. You can't do it. That's just okay. A word from my sponsor. We're not late yet. Okay. Anyway. But that's the answer. You're right. So the rabbis, for commerce, so the rabbis gave us a way to solve the problem. You can do it. Okay. Almost everything in the Torah that's also, there's a way to get it legally. Okay. Okay. So we did good. Where are we? Amar Abba. Dr. Rabban Abai Melsi says the rabbis, okay, we're looking, where's the source, okay, that when you rent something, you only owe at the end. They actually found a pasuk to support it. Why was that? Because we learned that since the pasuk says, by a Jew sells himself to a guy, but it's like a guy from year to year, like he rented himself, because it says, since it didn't say Shana Bishana, it sounds like the payment for this year is in the next year. When you finish the payment, the time of the period of this year, then you pay the next year. So you see the what? So they found a source for the pasuk that rental only is at the end. But remember, be careful renting. People renting. We said in the Mishnah, if the guy says, listen to it, if you want to buy my land for this much, it's 1,000. You want to wait till later when you have money, it's 1,200. Rav Nachman, Tarsha, he said, now, Tarsha is a word for a cherish. Cherish is a deaf mute. What about ribis? What about mute ribis? What about ribis when it's done silent? We'll call it silent ribis, mute ribis. In other words, it's where you never specify the head price. So we're going to have a few examples of silent ribis. Okay? So, for example, let's say the guy's going to sell it for more. If the guy's going to pay later, you're going to sell it for more, but you don't say so. Okay? Sorry, okay. You don't tell him. You tell him, listen. You want to buy it and pay later, or you want to pay in June? Okay, it's 1,200. But you don't say if you buy it now it's 10. You don't. You say if you want to buy it, you want to get it, you want to pay in June, it's 12. But you don't say and now it's 10. Okay, so it's mute. Shari, he said it's mutter. You're allowed to do it. It's not considered to be ribis. Let's say Asi Rav Nachman Rav Nachman. So yes, Makashi. Ami Rav Rav Nachman. Maybe somebody else asked Rav Nachman. He says, "What do you mean? You go b'shem someone also. You told me the Mishnah said clearly that what that if you tell them that if you want to buy it in June, at the silo time, at the threshing time, it's 12. It's 12. Okay, it's also. Amalei says awesome. Okay, katzle. It's over there. We said to him, yes, it's 12 then and 10 now. Hachol katzle. Here he didn't specify. As long as he doesn't say it's 10 now, it's okay. Okay, that was one. Amalei Papa Tashi I said my version of mute of silent ribis is mutter. He was a beer maker, or Papa, So what would happen? He says, listen, if you want to pay me in June, I'm just saying, in Nissan, you understand, when it's expensive, okay, he's allowed to do it. Okay, no, he'd give him, he would sell it now, and you'll pay in June at the high price. My time. Okay, what was the reason why it was okay? He said, Shichra lo pasi. He says, I'll tell you why, because my beer, okay? So the truth is, I'm in no rush to sell it now. I don't need to sell it now. I'm happy to wait till June. I'm happy to wait till Tishrei and sell it. Okay? He says, Zuzi lo tuchina, I don't need the money. I can get. I want to sell at the high price. No problem. I leave it in the shed, and I'll sell it at the high price. I don't need any money. I'm doing a favor for the buyer. The buyer wants to buy it now. I have nothing to gain. I wasn't going to sell it now. I was going to sell it in June anyway. He begged me now, so I sold it to him now at the high price. It's fine. I'm not making any money. He said to him, "My chazi mar the chazi." 1 second. How you doing? You're going to look at it from your side and decide it's not interesting because you don't need the money. He says, "Zil basar dedeo." Why don't you look at it from the side of the buyer? Okay. If that guy had money, he'd buy it now at the cheap price. He's stuck because he doesn't have any money. So he's buying the high price. Leslie Zuzi, Shakli's really coming. He's buying it. He's agreeing to the high price for later because he doesn't have any money. So from your side, you're right. You're not taking interest. Looks like no interest because you're not making it. But he's losing. He's losing. He's paying more because he doesn't have the money. What else? What else is interest? They said no. They disagreed, and they're not going to pop out according to that. He said, my version of silent witness is for sure okay. Now, you have to see what he did like this. He would say to a guy, listen, I'm in a cheap place. Over here, this merchandise sells for cheap. He says, I'm going to give it to you for the price at the expensive place, the next city where they can sell it for more. You take the stuff, okay, and you go sell it over there, okay, and then you'll buy your schor over there cheap. Here, we live in Yerushalayim. It's cheap, and Tel Aviv it's expensive. I'll sell my stuff to you at the Tel Aviv price, and I'll be responsible for any accidents that happen between here and Tel Aviv. Understand? So it's really my stuff. It's really my stuff. And then you'll get them yourself, and then you'll buy cheap stuff and bring it back here, and you'll make money. Okay? He says, so that's the thing. He says, that is okay. Okay? Why is that? Because since he's responsible for all accidents on the way there, he really owns everything until when? Until they get to Tel Aviv. So there's no interest, but it's not really true. On the one hand, there's no interest. Why? Because they didn't get possession of the schora. They paid the high price, but they didn't own it until they didn't get the loan. When did he lend them the money? Only after they sold it. There's no problem. They didn't pay interest. Because he's giving them the merchandise at the high price after they sell it. Now, the only problem is like this, though. Take a look. Who sold the merchandise? The guys he's helping. 1 second. Who paid him for that? So if they're selling his merchandise for free, aren't they getting interest still? Aren't they paying at least paying interest ahead of time by selling it for him for the loan that they're going to get after they sell it? They still can't do it. How is that okay? Okay, so my time. What's the reason? Why is it okay? Why is it okay for them to pay him extra by working his merchandise for the sake of the loan that he's going to give them after they sell it? He's going to lend them all the money that they sold it for. My time. What's the reason? He says, I'll tell you why. They're happy for the stuff. I'll tell you why. They're happy to do the job for this stuff to be in my possession. Why? Why? Because there's a rule. Talmidei Chachamim don't pay taxes. And Talmidei Chachamim, if they want to sell something, we stop the market. We don't let anybody else sell until Talmidei Chachamim sell. If Talmidei Chacham is selling shoes, we don't let anybody sell shoes until he sells out his shoes. Talmidei Chacham sells hats. Nobody can sell hats until Talmidei Chacham sells his hats person. So now, so there's 2 points. One, wherever they go, they're not going to pay the tax. And number two, they're going to stop the market, okay, because they represent me, so they're going to gain. So for the luck, say for the benefit that they're going to get by representing me, they're willing to sell my product. So they're not paying interest. They're not paying ahead of the time for the loan we've given they sell the stuff. They're trading me their work, understand, for the benefit they get by representing the Talmud Chacham. And the Gemara concludes in the Hilchos. So now we're going to give a halachic conclusion on 3 machlokas that we've been having for the last week. Number one, Hilchos Rav Chama. One, the halacha follows Rav Chama. That's okay. That's not considered interest. Number two, Hilchos Rav Elazar. Remember, we had an argument. We said earlier that he holds what, that the halacha is that if a person collected interest illegally from the Torah, that we take him we go to the guy go to court and we force him to give it back. The Hilchos like Rabbi Yanai and the Hilchos like Rabbi Yanai who said Mali hey Mali D'meim. Also, what that when we learned earlier, if a guy bought fruit at the cheap price, produce at the cheap price, and he paid, okay, but he didn't get the produce, okay, and he trusted the guy to give it to him when it's expensive. That even though at the expensive time, when the seller does not have the fruit, okay, the produce, he can still give him the money at the high price. Why? What do you mean? He's giving you more money. Here, I bought $1 worth of fruit in the cheap time, and then in the expensive time, he doesn't give me. I bought a kilo. He doesn't have a kilo, and now the kilo is worth $1.50. He's allowed to give me the $1.50. Why is he allowed to give me the $1.50? Because we say, listen, what's the difference? Either he's going to give me the kilo, which is worth $1.50, $1. So okay, so he said, he gave me. I would have sold it anyway. He gave me the $1.50 instead of the thing. It's okay. So they said the other one opinion says no, because from the money, if you give him the kilo, it's fine. You give him the money, you can't do it. He says no. It's the halacha follows Rav Yanai. What's the difference? He gives him the kilo, he gives him the money. Since it's mutter to give him the kilo, it's mutter to give him the money. Okay, now before we made a difference in the previous Mishnah, we made a difference between ribis that was also ribis that was mutter between buying a field and selling. For example, buying and renting real estate. Now, okay, we're going to make a difference between what? Between selling something or putting it up as collateral. If the field is a sale or collateral. What's collateral? I say to you, listen, here, let me the money. If I don't pay in time, you take my field. Yeah. So put the field up as collateral to sell it. We're going to see. So the Mishnah, Machalos Asada, if a guy sold another guy a field, the Nasan the Mitzvah stomach, and the guy paid that. Look, just to tell you, there's a million ways to buy things. We're going to see this. We'll come up to it. I can buy a thing and sell it. The second I pay the first penny, I owe everything. I own everything, and I owe you. I bought a field for 100. I pay you a penny. The field is mine. I owe you $99.99. So I owe you money. That's one. Another way I can say to this, I'm going to pay you every day a penny for 1,000 years. When I pay the last penny, it's mine. So for all the 1,000 years, every penny I pay you, I'm lending you money. The first way, all the money was a loan to the buyer, to the buyer. Now I told you, everything's a loan to the seller. Another way I could go what's called pro rata, I think. What's called pro rata, they call it. Pay you a penny, I owe a penny's worth. I pay 2 pennies, I owe 2 pennies worth. 3 pennies, I owe 3 pennies. So there's lots of different ways to skin a cat. There's a lot of different ways to buy. Okay? So let's take a look. So a guy sold a guy a field, and he paid him a down payment. He paid him for 100, gave him 10. Normally he says, and the other says, listen, the seller says, listen, pay whatever you want. Okay, have your most. Whatever you want, give me the rest of the money. V'tol shachar, and you'll own it from now. Here, whatever you want to pay, here, pay me $1. Whatever you give me the other 99, the field is yours from this moment. Now, it's going to be, we have a big problem also. It's forbidden. You're not allowed to do it. Why is that? Because we're completely stuck. And we'll see in a second, because whatever you do, somebody's going to be getting interest. Why? Yeah, why? You told me I paid you $1. You said, listen, when you give me the 99, the field is yours from this moment. So 1 second. If I pay you the 99 in the end, so who owned the field the whole time? I did. The buyer, right? The buyer. And the seller who was taking produce off all that field was getting interest. Why? Because he lent the guy 99 and he's taking interest right in the fruits. On the other hand, take a look. Look at this. What happens if the guy never pays? He defaults. he defaults. So what happened was, so the dollar that he gave the seller, he lent the seller a dollar. And all that time, if the buyer takes the produce, he was taking interest on the dollar that he lent the seller. So if we can't do it in this case, either way, we're afraid that what nobody can. We can't do it because if anybody uses the produce, anybody takes the use of product, they're going to be taking interest. So you can't do it. We're going to have to find a solution. Nobody can. You can't make this deal without finding some solution. Otherwise, somebody's going to be taking interest. Okay, and it's also this dovetails into another problem we'll see in 1 minute. Okay, that's forbidden. But let's say he'll was in there, but the other way. A guy lent a guy money against him and said, "Look, here's $100," and the guy said, "Listen," and the field will be collateral for 100. The Amar and the lender said, "If you don't pay me by 3 years from now, how usually then I take the field. Here, you put the field up, I give you 100, but after 3 years you don't pay it, then I'm taking the field instead of 100. Goodbye, Charlie." Hari Hishalo, that works. Then the field belongs to the lender. Okay, and there's no problem, and the buyer can't come back and say, "No, I got money now. It's too late. It's over." And Baitas Ben Zunim did that according to the Chachamim. Okay, there's no problem. We'll see. Now says the Gemara. Gemara says like this: when you told me that when he paid only a down payment, okay. So the Gemara says, "Listen, what's the problem? Who's allowed to eat the produce? Who's not allowed to eat the produce? Where's the problem over here? Who's the problem? The buyer, the seller? Who's the problem? Who can't take the use of product during that time?" He says, "Well, Huna says no. The seller is allowed to eat the produce. That's no problem, okay? And it's only forbidden to the buyer to eat the produce." Avana says no. Neither of them, the buyer and the seller, like I told you, are both forbidden, and they have to put all the use of product into a third party's hands, and they'll see in the end either he defaults on the loan, and all of the produce goes back to the seller, or he doesn't default on the loan, and all the produce goes to the buyer. Okay, that's what you have to do. The low pligi, but the truth is, there's no argument. What do you mean? Both Ravan and Rav Huna were not really arguing. Hard because they were talking two different cases. Okay, hard Amar. Okay, what do you mean to say? What hard Amar late? Okay, Maisis, Maisis funny. Rav Huna's case is where he said when you pay the money, you're gonna own it from that time and onward. And therefore, what? So long as he didn't pay, it belongs to the seller. So the seller's got to keep it. He said, "Listen, when you finally give me the money, you're going to own the field." So he made the deal, like I told you. That was scenario two. And since he only owns it when he pays the money, there's no problem. So all those years or whatever it was until he finally paid the money, the field really belonged to the seller. So there's no problem for the seller to take the produce. Okay. And the other case, okay, and Ravanan, when he said that neither of them was allowed to use the use of rock, is when he said, when you finally give me the money, you're going to own it from now. So now we're stuck. We don't know what's going to happen. If he defaults on the loan, okay, it always belonged to the seller, and the buyer was taking use of fructose interest. If he doesn't default on the loan, then it belonged to the buyer, and the seller was taking use of fructose. So that they really were arguing, depending on what the deal was. Was the deal you own it from now? Or was the deal you own it from then? And everybody really agrees. Hunter of Safra, he learned from the laws of the Brisa, Rav Chia, he learned the following teaching. It says, "Pamim sheshneiim." This is what I told you, Mutar. Sometimes in a down payment deal, both the buyer and the seller are allowed to take use of it. Either of them can take it. Pamim sheshneiim asurim. Sometimes both of them are forbidden to take it. Pamim shamocha mutar v'lekecha. So sometimes the seller is allowed to take it and the buyer is not. We already had it. But pamim shalekech mutar. Sometimes the buyer is allowed to take the use of it. The mocha also the seller also. Now, let's take a look. So Rabbi says, what? So he immediately responded and said, "I'll spell it out. I'll spell out all of the scenarios." There are times when both of them are allowed to take interest, or allowed to take the use of fraud. Why? The Amrali, we said, when he did pro rata, he said, "You own what you pay, you own. Every penny you pay, you own. So there's no problem." Why is that? So they'll each take use of fraud. What do you mean? Whatever percentage it is. If the buyer paid 10%, he takes 10% to use the fruct, and the seller takes 90%. No problem. There's whatever happens, it's fine. Every dollar he pays, he owns. So if he paid 10%, he takes 10%. It's no problem because he owns it, and the other takes 90 because he owns the 90. The seller owns 90. No problem. He says, "Pamim sheshneim asurim." When are both of them forbidden to take the use of fruct? That's the case we told him. We said, when you pay, you own it from now. The Amrle said to him, when he says, when you finally pay me the end of the money, you'll own it from now. So that's the scenario we said. They're both forbidden. Why? Because if he pays it off in the end, then the buyer always owned it, and the seller was taking interest by taking usufruct. And if he defaulted on the loan, then the seller always owned it, and the buyer was taking interest by taking the usufruct. So they're both forbidden. So what's the case where the seller is permissible to take it, permitted, and the buyer is forbidden? The Amar Lay, where he said where the deal was, the Chimaisis Kani. You'll own it in the end when you get it. So we said clearly, so you only own it at the end. So the whole time till the last dollar, who owns it? The seller. The seller is allowed to take use of it, and the buyer is not allowed to take the use of it because he doesn't own it. He's taking interest for lending the guy the money because every dollar he gives him is a loan. I hope I said correct. Yeah, I think it was correct. I hope so. Sometimes the buyer is allowed to take use of truck that the seller can't. Well, where's that case? Normally, it's when the seller said to the buyer, he says, it's all yours, and the money's a loan to you. Pay me 1 penny, the field is yours, okay, and you owe me the money. So therefore, what? Is okay? It's you don't have to pay me anything. You owe me money. You finish paying. The first penny you paid, you finish paying, and the rest is a loan. 99 is a loan. So now it belongs to him. So therefore, what? So therefore, only the buyer can eat because it belongs to him, and the seller can't because why? Because he'd be collecting by taking the interest. He would be collecting interest by taking use of. He'd be taking interest for the loan that he gave the buyer. Now, huh? Oh, he's that. It's not with now. That's right. That's right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Montana, we had it. Remember, we had an argument earlier. I want to say an interesting point. You may not realize this. Here, if I say to you, "What's the halacha?" Whenever we're not sure of something in a Torah, in a rabbinic law, if we're not sure if it's forbidden or not. What's the halacha? We're lenient. In a Torah law, if we're not for sure if it's forbidden or not. What's the halacha? We're stringent. But that stringency is an argument. One opinion says what that being stringent in a Torah law is a Torah law, and one opinion says being stringent in a Torah law is a rabbinic law. Why? Take a look. Hashem said, "Don't eat chazer." So if I'm not sure if that meat is chazer or not, can I eat it? I can say from the Torah, not eat it. When did Hashem say not to eat chazer? When it's for sure chazer. Hashem didn't. Hashem said, "Don't eat chazer." But if you don't know if it's chazer, He didn't say you shouldn't eat it. So I can eat it. If I don't know if it's chazer, I can eat it. So according to that opinion, I know you think I'm saying nuts. I'm not. Here, God said don't eat chazer. If it's chazer, don't eat it. But if you don't know if it's chazer, maybe you can eat it. Only the rabbi said no. If you're in doubt, you have to treat it as if it's chazer. You always know. Because see, from the Torah itself, we know that even if you don't know for sure it's chazer, you're not allowed. It's a machlokas. It's a machlokas. Now, we had a machlokas earlier. Remember what's called one side of ribbons. Let's say, what's the ribbons that we know for sure is forbidden? I say to you, listen, I'm lending you $1, you have to pay me back to me. There's no way out. It's for sure ribbon. I lent you one, you're going to pay me back free. But if I say to you, listen, I'm going to lend you, well, if this and this happens, it'll be interest. And if this happens, it won't be interest. Maybe it's permissible, even if it turns out to be interest. Why? I said, what I told you. When did the Torah forbid interest? When the deal is that it's going to happen. But if I make a deal where on one scenario it'll be interest and one it won't, then maybe I'm allowed to take the interest. I promise you I didn't make this stuff up. That we just had it, okay? It's a similar, just the comparison I told you. It's a similar place. So we have one opinion. Remember, we said, well, one opinion that's Sadaf Ribis. One opinion is that if only one scenario of a deal is Ribis, then it's mutter. And one is no, that even if only one scenario, even if it might not happen, it's still forbidden as long as you made the deal. Even to make a deal where it might happen or might not, is still forbidden. So he said, my so when we said the case where we said what? He said, listen, if you pay me the money in the end, you pay the down payment. When you finally pay in the end, if you don't default, you'll own it from now. So he said they're both forbidden. Why is that? Why are they both forbidden? Because why? Because the buyer can't do it. Because maybe if the buyer defaults on the loan, then the whole time it belonged to the seller. And if he took use of it, he took interest. Okay. And the other way, if the seller can't take interest, why? Because if the buyer doesn't default on the loan, then the whole time it belonged to the buyer because it's from now, and he's taking interest. No, but what if it happened the other? How come? Why can't I take it? The seller says, "Listen, let me take it. Let me take it. Let me take it. Why? Because maybe he's going to because if he defaults on the loan, it'll have been mine the whole time. So even if he didn't default on the loan, but since the Torah it's not for sure, maybe it's okay. So we said the fact that we forbade both of them, even though their forbidden status is only on the assumption that one side of the case came true, and it might not have happened. He said, who's the one who holds that what? That we learned now that what which the Tana taught us that what they're both usher, okay, even though it's only one scenario. Sure, the local Yehuda, that's against the Rabbi Yehuda, because of Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda said what? As long as it's only one of two possibilities in the deal, it's mutter. So it must be that this Tana is against Rabbi Yehuda. Says the Gemara, okay, Mishkan bias. Okay, here's another bias. Mishkan lo bias. A guy said, listen, I'm going to put up my house as collateral for a loan. Mishkan lo sadi, put up a field as collateral for a loan. So I'm a loan. And the lender said, when you want to sell these things, hey, I know this field's collateral, but you know what? If you ever decide to sell that thing, lo Tim Kramelly, sell it to me. Sell it to me. If you're going to sell it, sell it. Don't go to anybody else. Don't go anyplace. Sell it to me. Now, it depends. But if he said to listen, for such and such, let's say the field's worth 100. He says, listen. No, let's say the field's worth one. The loan is 100. The field's worth 150. He said, listen, sell it to me. I'll give you 110. He's going to give him less than the real price. The loan is 100. He put it up to back up $100 loan. The field's 150. He says, listen, if you're going to sell it, come to me. I'll give you 110. You understand? You're going to give him 110. Also, that's forbidden. Why? Because he's taking interest. Okay? Why? Because what's happening is the borrower is giving him the field for cheaper in thanks for the loans. He's paying him for the loan. But if he says to him, listen, don't go to anybody. Come, I lent you 100. If you ever want to sell, come to me. I'll give you 150. But that's permissible. As long as he buys it for the price, it's permissible. Tana, who's the Tana who said what? If he said to the loan's 100, the field's 150, he said, I'll give you 110. Who said it's also? I'm Rafuna, great W, sure. Local Yehuda against it. It's against Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Rabbi Yehuda, because remember, Rabbi Yehuda holds what? That if only one scenario is ribis, it's mutter. And what? Since he said what? Sell it to me. And sell it to me. It's possible that since he said if you want to sell it, you'll sell it to me under price. Since he might not ever want to sell it, it should be mutter. I'm communicating. He said, listen, if you want to sell it, I'll give you 110. It's ribis. Yeah, but who says? Maybe he won't want to sell it. Since he might never want to sell it, it's not what's ribis? You're going to have to pay me, and you're going to pay me 2 for 1. That's ribis. But since he said if you want to sell it, I'll give you 110 instead of 150. All right, but he doesn't have to sell it. He could say I don't want to sell it. Once there was a guy. It's a story. This story, I don't know if it's true. They tell about 10 different rabbis. This guy, he got into a bad crowd with Goyim, and they took him every night. They got him drunk. His wife comes to the rabbi. She said, Rebbe, you got to help me. The Goyim come every night at midnight. They take my husband. He turned into an alcoholic. They're killing my everything. Killing my husband, my marriage. He says, I'll be there tonight. I'll be there tonight before midnight. The rabbi shows up, at the house, like 10 to midnight. He sends the man and his wife back from the back room. He says, I'll take care of the Goyim. The rabbi's there. It's 12 o'clock at night. There's a big crowd outside. Run. He opens the door. There's no Goyim. There's no crowd. There's one guy standing there. It's the Satan himself. The Satan himself, alone, is standing there. Looks at the rabbi. He says, give me the man. Give me that guy. The rabbi says, okay, but let me have a cigarette first. Satan said, okay. So he never smoked again. He never had the cigarette. He said, let me have a cigarette first. Let me have a cigarette first. Huh? No, he never smoked it. The rabbi stopped smoking. The rabbi said, the Sultan said, give me the man. The rabbi said, right after I have a cigarette. The Sultan said, okay. The rabbi stopped smoking. So what's the point? What's the point? He said, who says that has to happen? Okay? Who says that has to happen? So now, who says it has to happen? Yeah. You have to say that's a trick. That's a big trick in business, what I just told you. They don't expect you to give up. Yes, they don't expect you to. They don't expect. That's the move. They don't expect. They don't expect. They don't expect you to change reality. Okay. Montana. Okay. Badam Allah. Machal Abayis. Yeah. If he sold him a house, Machal Asada, he sold him a field. Remember, he said to him, "Look, whenever you have money, give it back to me. Okay. Give me here. I bought a field from you, but I said, listen, whenever you have money, I'll give you back your field. I know you need money. You sold it because you need money. Here, when you get your money, you can give it back. I'll always give it back to you. Also, it's forbidden. Why is that? Because it turns out then he's not really sell. He's not really. It's not a sale. It's really a loan. Okay. And what's going to happen again? The buyer is going to use the use of fruct in the meantime, and what? He's going to end up being interest according to the loan that he gave him because he lent him the money. Okay, but if he says the but if he says if you're going to have money, I'll give it back to you. That is permissible. Okay, the other difference. One is what? If you give me the money, okay, if you get money, I'll give it back to you. So then what? It was really a loan. He says, but if he says what? The other he says what? He says I'll give it to you if you get the money. That way is mutter because what? Because it's not. It's his choice, and not he didn't make it that he has to give it back. It's his choice, and therefore it's not going to be interest. Okay, and we can explain it right now. Here, give me 1 second. We can explain it. Montana. Okay, who is the opinion that we said that that uh, that that when he says to him, when you have money, uh, give it. I'll give you back the house. It's forbidden because of ribis. I'm Ravuna, but sure. Again, we said what look at me. That's against Rabbi Yehuda. The Rabbi Yehuda because Rabbi Yehuda, is mutter because he always said as long as it's only one scenario, it's mutter. And since the what? Since the seller may never get his money back, it's not necessarily going to come to interest. It should be mutter. So you see, it's against Rabbi Yehuda. My shul safe. What's the difference in the ratio of the safe where he says, listen, he says if you get the money, I'll give it back. Or he says what? He says or if he says no, he says when you have money, I'll give it back to you. Okay. He says my shul safe. What's the difference? He says what? If those is it if the seller makes the rule when I get money the question is who made the deal, the seller or the buyer? If the seller said what when I get money you give it back to me, it's forbidden. If the buyer says when you get money I'll give it back to you, if I wasn't clear, I'm sorry. When the seller says what when I get money you'll give it back, forbidden. When the buyer says if you get money I give it back, it's permitted. My should I say what's the difference between whether the buyer Amaravi says I'll tell you the difference. He says okay, the ratio, okay, is where he didn't say it. It wasn't up to him. Because what? Because the buyer has the rule. The seller has the rule. Whenever I get the money, I have to give it back. Same on the thing. In the ratio where it's the seller who makes the deal, so the buyer is forced to give it back. Okay? So therefore what? When he's forced to give it, it turns out that since he has to give it back, it turns out there was never a sale. It was a loan. But where the seller said, listen, I'll give it back to you. So since it's not forced, it really was a sale. But he said, I'll give it back to you. And therefore it's okay. No, when he's forced, when the seller made the deal, so the buyer never really bought it because he has to give it back. So it was always a loan. When the seller made the deal, it really was a sale. And it's really okay. If I said it backwards, you'll quit. Thank you very much on both sides. I can see. A good Erev Shabbos and a good Shabbos. Amen. Mordechai may have been good. Mordechai may have been good. What are you doing stuff? He's 5 minutes. You should buy that front door now. All right.
Are they having a minion tomorrow? That may be the last minion. Huh?
This is the last thing. This is it? What for?
For Nusaf Sfad.
Tomorrow. Sorry. I'm going to make a special effort. Okay. Oh, there you go. Yeah, good.